All right. Make sure that we are good with our streaming. Let's check this out. Okay. YouTube is up. Bear with me, guys. Anyone joining at the moment? Yo, what's going on? What's going on, guys? Bear with me a moment. I got a couple of different streams going on, so right, take those off. We'll get up here and running in just a bit. Let's see. All right, so our YouTube is up. Our Facebooks, I'm streaming in three different Facebook groups. So, okay, this one is good to go. Beautiful. Let's check our other one. Our mastermind group is good. Wholesale and mic group is, I think, good. And then let's just go to this one here. All right, we're good here. Beautiful. Cool. Looks wonderful. All right, yo, what's going on, everyone? Happy Friday. Glad to have you here. Like I said, I'm streaming in a couple different places right now. We got 3 different Facebook groups. We got our YouTube group. I'm about to jump live on Instagram. So I'm very, very excited. Thank you guys for joining me again. The group that shows up on a Friday night, this is some of my favorite people. You guys are dedicated to the cause. I am here to deliver. So if you could, just for a minute, we're going to give it like 5 minutes just so I can confirm everyone can see, everyone can hear, everything's good. But if you guys could just jump in the comment section, jump in the chat section wherever you're watching, and just let me know that you can see me, that you can hear me okay, and we'll get right into this. Tonight we're going to be talking about finding motivated sellers, how to find motivated sellers, how to find the best deals, and how to always keep your pipeline full. Keep those deals coming in. So again, very excited. Thank you for joining me here. Again, we're going to give it like 2-3 minutes. If you're watching this on a replay, you might want to skip the next like 3 to 5 minutes. But yeah, if you guys could just let me know in that chat box or in comments, depending on where you're watching, that you can see this. And in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and get this Instagram live joint popping. Then I'll give you some more details about what we're talking about. Give you some kind of best practices for the live here, because I do want to take your questions. And then we will get right into our materials because, again, I know it's Friday. You guys want to, you got things to do and all that stuff, right? Man, I got someone from London. What's going on? Don't see many of you here, but good to see you. Please let me know that you can see me, that you can hear me. And, again, if it's too loud, if it's not loud enough, if it's staticky, something like that, let me know right now so I can fix that up for you, okay? Just Bill Credit is on here. What's going on? And, guys, feel free, if you're have a service to offer. I'm not one of those guys who's like, man, don't, network on my shit. It's like, dude, if that's what you do, feel free to connect with other people. I'd love to be like a catalyst that can help you out. If, assuming that you're good at what you do, and I'm assuming that you are. So on that note, I'm going to do this IG live thing, and then we'll get right into our material. All right. So let's see how I do this. Sorry. Man, my social media game is not the best. All right. Add to my story. And where's the live thing? Live. Somewhere in here. Don't tell me. All right, let's see. Story. Oh, that's not what I want. Okay, definitely not what I want. Bear with me 1 second, guys. Figuring this stuff out. All right, there we go. Live. And flip the camera. I'm getting this. All right, cool. So we got that there. Okay, cool. All right, so it's going to be like 2 more minutes, guys, and then we'll get started here. Thank you for your patience. Again, tonight especially for my people that just joined me on Instagram, we're going to be discussing finding motivated sellers, how to find the best deals for wholesaling, and how to be consistent and make sure that you are always keeping your pipeline full. So welcome to the call, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I was just saying to the guys over on Facebook, on YouTube, that like, dude, the people who jump on here on a Friday night, some of the most dedicated people, because, you know, Friday nights are for fun sometimes, right? So thank you guys for joining me. Again, I just want to make sure that everyone can see me, everyone can hear me. We'll jump right into our materials. This is going to be one of my group coaching calls. So typically, this is reserved for my students and for members of Wholesale and Mike University. I like to keep these calls very much interactive. Again, I thought it'd be fun. We did this last week, but I thought it'd be fun to invite, you know, people from my email list and maybe jump on Instagram Live. So welcome to you guys who maybe aren't normally here, and hopefully you get some really good stuff. So let me just check in and make sure that like everyone can actually like see this stuff and hear. Okay, we got some folks over here. Like I said, we're streaming in 3. Hold on, let me mute this side so we're not echoing. We are on 3 Facebook groups. On YouTube and on Instagram. All right, so really quickly, just a couple of like housekeeping things. It's not even housekeeping, but I like for these calls to be very, very much interactive. So if you guys have questions, just drop them in the chat box. Like I said, I'm in a couple different places, so I might not keep up. Typically, I like to kind of, you know, give my presentation and then you know, kind of do Q&A at the end. But if you have questions and they're pertinent or relevant to what we're talking about in the moment, I'm going to try to like check all these things and then I'll jump right into it, okay? So, guys, you know, it's been 5 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for everyone who was here on time. And just one more check. Please let me know that you can hear me, that you can see me. Just give it like a thumbs up or just let me know. All right, cool. Dan Tech can see and hear perfectly. All right, thank you, thank you. Appreciate that. And I'm going to make sure I have all my separate chat boxes up. So we are good to go. Let me expand this. Silence that so we don't have an echo here. And I got one more. And then, like I said, I know it's a little bit of a slow start, but we're waiting for everyone to kind of get up in here. And we'll get started in like 30 seconds. All right, cool. Instagram people. Evans is on here. What's going on? What's going on? Henry. AB. I don't think I know AB, but what up? Welcome, welcome. All right, cool. Good stuff, good stuff. All right, guys, so I'm going to welcome you to tonight's call. Again, tonight we're going to be talking about how to find motivated sellers, how to find the best deals in your market, and how to always keep that pipeline full. So the call tonight is going to be on prospecting, right? So again, this is typically this is one of my group coaching calls, typically reserved for students and members of my Wholesale with Mike University. But I am inviting, I opened it up to some extra folks, people who are you know, on my email list, stuff like that. So welcome to you guys. Thank you here for joining me again. And so, quick recap, right? So what we've been doing for the last couple of weeks is we've been doing role play. So again, I've been role playing with you guys as if to say we were on a call, as if I were a motivated seller. And we've been doing that practice to get you guys comfortable. Now, again, you should have your accountability partner. You guys should be doing this daily at a minimum on a weekly basis. For those of you who are visiting or maybe missed, you know, the last couple calls, those replays are inside of Wholesaling with Mike University. Make sure you watch them. The feedback there is invaluable. If you're not a member of the program yet, yeah, what are you doing? Make sure you get on there. But no, I have like 2 replays on my YouTube channel where you can kind of get a sample of this. So go ahead and watch it. We do everything from what you should specifically say to a little bit of confidence building. I give you real-time feedback, and also perhaps the most important part is how to respond to the various types of objections that you're going to inevitably get as a wholesaler, right? So go back and watch those videos if you haven't. So what I wanted to do this week and also in the next couple of weeks, we're going to shift gears just a little bit based on some of the feedback that I've been getting from you guys. Now, we do have several new students in the program, so this is partially for you guys, and we do have some newbies. And by the way, we do have some students who have done their first deals this week. Congratulations to you guys. I won't put your business out there, but if you'd like to share, please do. If any of you guys are on the call, please, if you're comfortable doing that, throw the details in there. I think it's helpful and inspirational for everyone else if you want to share the details of that. But in any event, what I wanted to do is kind of take a little bit of a step backwards and do a series where it's going to be somewhat very casual. If you guys notice, we're not doing the Zoom setting today. We're not doing any PowerPoints today. I'm going to give you a talk and kind of a casual talk where I can get some feedback in real time. And we're going to start with fundamentals. And this is kind of what we're going to be doing for the next few weeks. And so I have some notes here, but on the note of fundamentals, right? It's not just about how to wholesale, right? Like a lot of you guys know the steps, right? You know what you need to look for, how to find, properties, 70% off ideally, the formulas, and you know the process, but look how many people are still kind of struggling. And that's because there's so much more that goes into this. I try to have a very much holistic approach where we talk about everything. We talk about your mindset. We talk about how to hold you accountable. We talk about your routines, your habits. And so this is a, why is she hating on the hat and like messing up my stream? Anyway, unbelievable. So, we're going to start on fundamentals. Now, if you guys know, a lot of what I talk about, in addition to things like, like I was just saying, those different habits, routines, accountability, all that different stuff. Some of the big tenets of wholesaling, right? In terms, like there's mindset, but then there's, when we get into the actual functions, there's prospecting, there's consistency, there's follow-up, and a lot of times I've been harping very much on things like follow-up. And what I've come to realize dealing with some of you guys who are very new is that as important as that is, and that'll be a deal breaker in your business. Just as an example, if you're not following up, you got to make sure the deals are there, or at least the prospects, the leads are there before you even get to the follow-up point. So that's what I'm really talking with you guys about today, okay? Now, I'm not going to be talking to you guys today about specific lists or specific strategies, and there's a reason for that. Number one, for all my members, Wholesaling Mike University, you guys have that information. That is in your action plan. It tells you the very first list to start at. It matches you up with the lists that are best for your budget. It shows you how to do a kind of self-analysis. And if you're one of my one-on-one students, we do this together. But that analysis where you look at your market, you run through that exercise. You look at your time exercise, run through that, your budget. And it'll show you exactly what strategy you should be pursuing, as well as what types of lists. Because as I always say to you guys, there's no such thing as a one-size-fits-all. But today, what I want to do here is start with talking about things like mindset, your habits, your routine, your time management, your focus, accountability, and I want to talk about some of the traits of a successful wholesaler. So what we're going to do today is we're going to start very big picture. And having taught this stuff for years, I know there are people on here, and some of you guys might be thinking, well, no, just show me the best list that's going to work. And I'm going to tell you right now, you can have the best list, the best strategy. I said that in quotes, right? But if you don't have some of this, the fundamentals, the routines, the habits, the mindset down, all of that shit becomes completely irrelevant. And that's the reason why you can have two wholesalers. You can give them the exact same list. You can give them the exact same budget. One of them, 6 months later, will be highly successful. Have like 10 deals done. And the other one will have 0 deals done. They'll say, hey, man, this shit doesn't work. And so today, this is what I want to talk to you about. I want to show you exactly kind of why that is, all right? So again, we're not talking about the list today, and we will get to that. If not today, it'll be the next call that we get on. But we're going to start with kind of the big picture stuff, because you have to realize there is some randomness to the game. So that's why it's not just about the list. It's got to be about your SOPs, your standard operating procedures, your systems, your follow-up, and fundamentally kind of changing who you are at your core. I know that sounds weird to some of you guys, or some of you guys are like, yo, just get to the, the rest of the stuff, right? But it's about that fundamental change. And once you shift that and the way you approach this business, that's really going to be the difference in whether you do deals or don't do deals. So hopefully that makes sense. If you guys are just joining, again, feel free to drop your comments in here, and I'll go ahead and take those either as they are relevant to the topic at hand or at the very end. Okay. So at this point, this is going to be the time to take notes. All right. So the very first thing I want to start with, and the biggest issue I've seen among some of you guys, some of my new students, some of the new members, and some of the questions I've been getting from you guys, is going to start so simple. We'll get into more detailed stuff, but it starts with procrastination. Some of you guys are telling me, yeah, man, I'm just going to wait till I do, XYZ, and then I'll start making the calls. Or I'm going to start on Monday. It's one of my favorites. Or, I was planning on starting, this next week or something, once I get all my ducks in order. And I want you to really think about this thing. And again, some of these things I'm going to start with are going to be, like I said, we're starting at fundamentals, but you have to realize how important this is. This business, every single action that you take, sometimes you don't see the results of that for weeks, even months. Every single action you take has a compounding effect, and the results multiply exponentially. And because there's a randomness to this game, this is how it works. You can say, hey man, I'm going to start on Monday. But what you fail to realize is you might make a call today. You might make a call tomorrow. And because that randomness is there, you might end up talking to, and this is why you have to have a healthy fear of missing out, that healthy FOMO, where you might talk to a motivated seller today where, you talk to them, they're ready to sell, you do the deal, and then 3 weeks from now, you're sitting on an extra $20,000, literally. And then you take that in 3 weeks, you take that extra 20 grand and you put it back into your business. And that 20 grand yields another 2, 3, 4 deals, and then each one of those branches off. And by you putting off today just until Monday, that type of opportunity, that type of seller may not come around for another, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. And so every day that you procrastinate, every day you say, I'll do it tomorrow, you could really be setting yourself back, your goals, your dreams, the date that you are going to quit your job. You could be pushing that back with no exaggeration, like 6 months, just by missing one day. So I want you guys to first think about how important and how serious that really is. And I'm asking every single one of you on here to make a commitment to start implementing the things I'm about to share with you immediately. Now this call is late, so I don't expect you guys to call people like at 9 o'clock tonight, but I mean literally start doing this stuff tomorrow. And also everything is habits, and once things become habit, once they start drilling into your subconscious, become a part of what you do and who you are, that's when stuff really starts to work. Okay, so just drop that in the chat for me, man. Just tell me that you're committed. Let me know that you are down. All right. The next thing, a lot of people talk about, I'm sure you guys hear this all the time, systems. I gotta get my system in place, and a lot of you guys know that, right? It is important to have systems in your business. However, especially for my newbies, the thing you have to realize is that system, especially when you're a solo entrepreneur, when you don't have employees, when you don't have VAs, when you haven't done your first deal yet, which is what we're kind of focusing on here tonight, is that yes, you need those systems in place, but the systems start with habits. Your habits start with who you are, with your attitude, with your mindset, with your routines. And sometimes the very best solutions are actually the simplest, right? So the what I want to start with today is just on the note of prospecting is volume, man. Some of you guys, that you have to be consistent, that you have to follow up, but you're not hitting volume yet. And it's so simple and it's math, but you just need to do a little bit more every day, a little bit more. Prospecting needs to be your senior activity every day. If you guys feel me on that, please let me know in the comments. That needs to be the number one task that you do every day. I get on calls every single day. Sometimes they're, the free calls I do. Sometimes they're, my one-on-one students. Doesn't matter, right? But people are asking me questions like, "Hey, Mike, I gotta set up my LLC first. Hey, man, I gotta make my business cards first. I gotta, which CRM is best?" Listen, these are all good things. They're important things. They'll help you in your business. But in the vast majority of cases, these are excuses for you guys not to do the hard stuff, the stuff that is uncomfortable, the stuff that has a lot of rejection attached to it. And you really need to step off from that until you at least do your first deal. You can get to all that. You can do the LLC setup. You can do all that stuff. But I want you guys getting that first deal done. All right. All that, I got to set up my LLC. I got to make my business cards, blah, 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 blah. The majority of cases is just a way to procrastinate, right? It's excuses. It's paper pushing. You're just like moving shit around and not making any real progress. And that's what you really need to be focusing on right now. So what I want to start today with, or the next part of what we're getting into, are some of the traits and behaviors of successful wholesalers. So this is stuff you guys want to start writing down, okay? So the first one I have for you, and what I would recommend if you're just starting the business in particular, is to be obsessive, to be a little bit of a wild man, a little bit of a wild woman, to have, if you don't have friends and family coming up to you and saying, "Yo, relax, man, take a break. What are you doing? Calm down. You've been in that room for the last 8 hours straight." Then you're kind of like probably fucking up, especially again, if you're just getting started. You want to go the extra mile. You want to do shit that people think is, for lack of a better word, crazy. You want them thinking that about you, right? You want to go at this with such vigor and such relentlessness. Like, literally, man, like your life depends on it. And that's one of the things that I think got me successful in the business, because I'm not recommending this for you guys, but they say, for example, you should have 6 months of savings before you quit your job, right? I wanted to do that, but I couldn't. Every paycheck, man, no matter how frugal I got at my corporate job, there was never enough left over. And believe me, I got cheap. I canceled all my shit, canceled my gym membership, was pinching pennies. There just wasn't enough for me to save. And I quit my job prematurely. But that put me in a point where I had a young daughter, and it was like, yo, I got to make a deal this month or Jade can't eat. Eventually that became, or Jade can't go to school. I can't get, new clothes for like stuff like that. And it became this situation where I had to, and I would just go crazy, like just so intense with this that failure was not an option. And so the mentality needs to really change. You guys got to go extreme. You got to overdo it. In time, you can even start to reel it back a little bit. But for my beginners, for my guys who are on limited budgets, for my people that haven't done their first deal, like, you got to be going at this 7 days a week. Like, some people see, other wholesalers who have succeeded, or parts of my life, and they're like, "Oh man, this guy's chilling. He's working a 20-hour work week. That's awesome. I can't wait to do that." Trust that I did not start off that way, okay? I was going in 7 days a week, 12-hour days, putting in the work, especially in the beginning. You have to just go harder than everyone, and that's going to become your competitive advantage, especially as a beginner, because, some of the people who have, like, when you're in the business for a while, you might lose that fire, that vigor a little bit. But for you guys, you can always go a little bit harder. So that's step one. The traits of that, successful students that I've had is really to just go at it really, really hard, right? Anytime, anywhere, any person you talk to. In our program, we talked about that 6 degrees of separation, and how with social media, that's down to like 2.8 or something like that, meaning that at this point in time, even if you have no budget, even if you can't send mail, even if you can't do any of that shit, you either know someone who wants to sell, you know someone who wants to buy, or you know someone who knows someone. That's just the basic numbers, and you got to start asking, okay? You got to start asking these things. Next, traits of a successful wholesaler. Successful wholesalers, successful new students that I've had, they don't make excuses. They own everything. So nothing is about the economy. Nothing's about the market. Nothing's about the type of list. Nothing is about an excuse like, "Hey, man, I know I should make these calls, or I know I have to follow up with this lead, but, it's lunchtime. I don't want to bother them. It's a Saturday. Mike, should I call on a Saturday? Because these people might be mad at me. Mike, this list is no good. Nobody's calling me back. Nothing works. I love when people say nothing works, and I'm like, well, how many calls do you make? Like, I call all the time. I work all the time. Well, how many calls did you make? I made like 10 or 15. First of all, those numbers fucking suck, man. 10 or 15, that's not enough calls. But also, if you're tracking, which I'm gonna get to that too, but like, is it 10 or is it 15? Like, it's not that hard to know how many it is. And what I've found is when I have conversations with people where they say, man, nobody wants to sell. Nobody picks up the phone. Nobody. They talk in these kind of, I don't know, generalizations. What you come to find is, you maybe make 10 calls and get 10 rejections, or 10 people don't pick up. And then people tend to generalize and say, well, nobody, or, just like I said, these different generalizations. And when you break down the numbers, it's just not true. It's just that once you get a little bit of rejection in the beginning, it can be a little bit discouraging, and it can be easier to make some of those generalizations. But at the same time, that's not reality. You're not hitting the volume and the quantity large enough, for that to hold true. And so you really got to stop, using that negative self-talk, and just keep going and keep going and keep going. And that's going to come back to tracking, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute. Another thing is that, you're not living in fear of saying, well, what if this person gets mad at me? What if this person says no? A lot of times I get on calls, my one-on-one students, especially in the beginning. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if? And I tell you, listen, speculation is going to be the death of you, man. Stop worrying about what if. Yes, there's a certain degree of preparation that you want to have, especially for very common objections. And we talk about that in the program. But at the same time, it's like, dude, just make the calls, and then you'll deal with it as it happens. And even if you mess it up the first time, the first 2 times, there's going to come a time where you become very much proficient because you've dealt with that before. And also, in terms of fear, you can have not only the fear of failure, but I've found a lot of you guys, a lot of my students, before they do their first deals, they have very much the fear of success. And that's another, a lot of that subconscious. I'm going to get more into that in just a minute. But again, I'm starting off now with traits, habits, and to a degree, some of the practices that I've seen. All right. The other thing is that in good or in bad times, they're always prospecting. If you take nothing else from this talk, you need to take that. You need to always be focused primarily on filling your pipeline. That's where your attention should be. That's where your first, your senior priority needs to lie every day, is in prospecting. Say it with me, man. Drop in the chat. Put the hashtag prospecting, senior activity, right? Marcus says, but you can only make calls in ratio to the number of properties available. If I'm understanding that correctly, I don't like this word. He said you can only. I mean, calls in ratio to number of properties. Obviously, there's a limit to the number of properties, right, available. But I mean, practically speaking, man, like the number of properties that are available, that are prospects, there's no way that you can hit all of them. I don't care if you make 100 calls a day, 1,000 calls a day, the amount of time that they have and the amount of new properties coming to the market and the amount of people that shit happens to people every day. If you look at the statistics, it's like people die every day. If you're looking for probate leads, for example, every day. I think the stats are like, there's like, I don't know, people die like every 12 seconds in the United States. Granted, they're not all homeowners, but like if that just gives you an idea, right? Foreclosures, even at the height of our economic boom, right? I think even 2016, for example, 1 in every like 2,500 properties was in the state of foreclosure. Do you know how many people get divorced every day? Like, it's like 60% of the married people get divorced. And then you have frustrated landlords, you have military people, you have, again, inherited properties. Like, there's always going to be new properties coming in. So you can never make enough calls. And then the person who you called yesterday, who wasn't ready to sell, or who you left a voicemail, or who didn't pick up, or that you missed, like, you could call them 5 days later and then they're ready to go. So like people's not only availability changes, but their situations change. So it's not in a situation where like there's a limit. There really is no ceiling on the calls that you can make. All right. Let me know if that answers that, and if you want to clarify a little bit more, please do. But moving along, we're talking more about like some of these characteristics and traits. And again, I'm starting very big picture here because I want to hit you guys at this identity level shift. So the next thing I found is that people who are successful with this, they're very much optimistic and very much enthusiastic. And that affects every part of your demeanor. It comes through when you're on the phone. It comes through in the quantity and the volume of work that you do. It comes out in how creative you are in reaching out to prospects. It comes out in how open you are to talking to that random person and networking. And it also, my personal beliefs, but it activates that law of attraction. However you want to call it, if you're a spiritual person, if you're a religious person, if you are more science-based, but you're into kind of quantum physics, however you want to call it, energy, whatever you want to call it. I know this might be a little bit woo-woo, a little taboo for some people. I have seen this so many times in my life. There's nobody that can like doubt this or cause me to question this. Okay, when you are optimistic, when you're enthusiastic, not only does it activate that law of attraction, but it there's something in you, the way you call, the amount of volume you hit, the things that you, the effort that you put into this, the confidence that you build, it all changes. Sometimes you gotta like hype yourself up, man. You might have to go outside and like, I don't know, hit a punching bag or do some laps, or while saying a mantra or whatever it is. But you gotta know, like, yo, today's the day. It's gonna happen this week. Hey, I can't wait to make these calls, right? And you just have to get very happy, very optimistic, very enthusiastic about doing this. And that comes through when you're on the phone, man. Like, even if I'm here talking to you guys and I'm like, hey man, like step 1, step 2, step 3, it's probably not going to impact as much when I'm telling you guys, like, this is the business that changed my entire life, man. This is the reason my daughter lives well, the reason why her dad is there every day, the reason that we can hang and kick it and do shit during the week that other people can't do because their parents were at work. Like, this is the stuff that I love, and I'm trying to kind of express that to you. And when you apply that same type of thing to your business, it shows, it comes through when you're dealing with people and they see that you're happy to help them, you're enthusiastic, you want to talk to them. It makes you more magnetic and more attractive to them as just a person, and they're much more likely to do business with you, which is why, I have VAs and I use VAs for quantity because I can't be there all the time and I don't want to be there all the time. But even when I am talking to people directly, my conversion rate is always going to be better because I am enthusiastic and I do give a shit. And this is not just, about the business for me, but I'm engaged with people, and that really does have a huge impact on your conversion rates. Like I said, when you're enthusiastic about the business, you're going to do more, you're going to hit more volume, but you're also going to find that your conversion rate goes up very, to a very large, almost immeasurable degree. All right. Next, some other traits of these successful wholesalers is that they tend to be very competitive and very aggressive, man. And that's just something that you're going to develop. But in the beginning, I'll admit it can be kind of hard. A lot of this goes back to your natural personality type. But remember that you can cultivate these things. And the best way to do this is by getting that first deal done, man. Like in the beginning, you may not be naturally a very competitive person or very aggressive person. I promise you, the day that you get a $20,000 check, and I'm telling you, this happened to me, it's happened to my students, that you get a $20,000 check just for making like phone calls, you're going to be a lot more enthusiastic about it. You're going to be much less likely to put that shit off than when you're just making the calls and not getting results in the beginning. But again, that competitiveness, that fieriness, later on, it'll be that willingness to collaborate and talk to people. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But that leads me to my next point, is just the relentlessness and that willingness to follow up. Now, follow-up is going to be kind of a whole nother piece in the series, which I'm going to go very, very deep on. But it's kind of like not taking no for an answer. Like, obviously, you're going to talk to some prospects and say, listen, man, I'm not interested at all. I'm never going to sell this to you. And I'm not talking about those people. But there's some people who may be interested, maybe they're not sure, whatever it is. Hey, call me next month. Like, you got to be relentless and following up, but also relentless about the business, relentless about your success in general, okay? And again, I'm going to go a lot deeper into like the follow-up and stuff like that in just a second. I haven't checked some of the Facebook comments. I'm going to come circle around, check those in a minute, guys. But I just want to get through at least the traits really quickly. Now, the next one is a big one, and this I'm calling embrace the suck. And that means in the beginning, especially if you're just getting started, the shit's gonna suck for a while, man. You're not gonna get well, actually, I've had students, and there's some cases where people are just very lucky. But even if you're lucky with that first deal, you may go through some, especially in the beginning, there's going to be ups and downs, and you really need to just embrace that. There's going to be in this business a large degree of rejection. Most people, the vast majority of people, especially if they don't have proper training and proper, not just enthusiasm, but like proper, not just motivation, but even accountability or someone to push them, it's very easy for the average person to kind of fall off, right? And so if you could just kind of deal with that, grit your teeth and keep going, you have very much a competitive advantage. And what I tell people is you should always be grateful for some of these initial barriers to entry. Sometimes it takes the form of a high degree of rejection, but sometimes it's things like earnest money deposits, or some of the initial difficulties you're going to face. But if it were super, super easy, like everybody would do it, and if everyone did this, then it would like cease to be profitable. So it's kind of like a blessing in disguise, right? But the first thing that I want to talk about is rejection. And I highly recommend everyone, my students already know this, but you go to Audible and get the book Rejection Proof by a dude named Ja Jang. And you guys probably heard me talk about this before if you've been following me. But basically, it's a guy who comes from a very conservative background, conservative family. He married a girl with very conservative parents, conservative values, had a good job, but he wanted to be an entrepreneur. But he was so scared, rejection almost killed him, and said, listen, man, I got to deal with this shit, right? So what I'm going to do is every day I'm going to go out and I'm going to purposefully put myself in situations where I get rejected for the sole purpose of desensitizing myself to this rejection. So that way it doesn't bother me. And he documented this, and he's got videos on YouTube. He's got videos on his blog, and he talks about it extensively in his book. Like I said, some books I recommend you get the print version so you can like take notes and highlight stuff like that. This book, I don't think you necessarily need to do that, because if you just go to the Audible version, you can get through it in like 2 days or something like that. But highly recommend that you go through that book, because it'll help you to build your tolerance for a rejection, which you have to realize is a part of this business. You cannot go through this and not get rejected. Like, it's just not going to happen. All right. Next thing is about confidence. The more confident you can be is directly correlated with the amount of business you're going to do. But that being said, it's not about being born a confident human being. Especially in business, competence breeds that confidence. So it's natural and it's okay to have, for example, that initial anxiety, that initial fear. I think even admitting that you have that is a huge first step in realizing that it's not to be, if there were people who say, I don't mind, I'm fearless, I could do it, whatever. And if that really is you, cool, man, you're at a little bit of an advantage. But for the average person, myself included, it's not the case. But I think admitting, like, you know what, I am a little bit fearful of making this call. I do feel a little bit uncomfortable. Okay, admitting that is like the first step. It's like Alcoholics Anonymous, where they say first admit you have a problem or something like that, right? So do that first, but then just realize that the more you do this, the more you put the reps in, even if you are the shittiest person at talking, even if you're really, really bad at this, just by putting the reps in, you will naturally get better. And as long as you continue to do it, with every call, with every contract, with every conversation, no matter how badly it goes, your confidence will naturally get better. It's inevitable. You just have to keep dialing, keep talking to people, keep making those calls, all right? The next thing, and I want to talk about this in particular, is you got to stop looking for the easy button. And this was a marketing book I read. I don't know if it was a Seth Godin book or what it is, but they said easy is the greatest marketing hook of all time, right? This is an example. Hey, man, you don't have to go to the gym. You don't have to work out. You don't have to run. You don't have to watch what you eat. Eat all the bullshit food you want to. Just take this pill and you'll lose weight. Who wouldn't love that? And that's how a lot of people form their marketing. And so what happens with, a lot of my students, a lot of people I talk to, a lot of comments I get, DMs, everybody watches a webinar or they see this new software, and what the software is going to sell you is like, listen, man, you could get 1,000 motivated seller leads in only 6 minutes with no work. Like, motivated sellers delivered to your inbox with no work. And people tend to continuously chase that type of stuff. And even if the quality of the leads can be decent, it's just not the full picture, man. It's just not the way it works. And again, when we combine it with the rest of the things we're going to be talking about over the next couple weeks, particularly being like your follow-up and things like that, you're going to find that shit doesn't ring true. So you need to let go of that easy stuff. Like I'm not saying a CRM won't help you or certain data, certain resources won't help you, but at the same time, you want to the sooner you accept that, like, listen, man, there's going to be some suck involved with this. It's going to be not cool. It's going to be tedious. It's going to be full of rejection. It's going to be, I don't know, just like not fun. The sooner that you can accept that, the better it's going to be for you. And, you'll be more likely to do the work because you have your expectations managed properly, right? So you got to stop looking for that easy button or that one size fits all solution, okay? The faster that you can kind of get that shit out of your mind, the faster you're ready and willing and able to do what it takes to start getting your deals. And when you moving right on, 100% ownership. So it's not about the list being bad or your CRM not being good enough or the quality of the leads. But when you take it as, hey, it's my level of activity, it's all my action. When you take 100% ownership of that, that's when you're going to start seeing results. And again, it's not going to happen overnight. But as you continuously do this and do it day after day after day, like literally, if you do this 30 days in a row, there's just no way that you're not going to see results. You might not close on a deal in 30 days, but you'll have something under contract. You might have it sitting at the title company waiting for title work to clear, maybe waiting for your buyer or something like that. But there's just no way that if you're that consistent with it, that this can't work for you, right? Obviously, there might be exceptions. You have to have, sufficient time, for example. But I think in everyone I've dealt with, you can make the time, right? Or, budget or whatever it is. But again, if you accept that there is hard work involved, especially in the beginning, it's going to be grueling. It's going to take some patience. You're going to deal with a high degree of rejection. The sooner that you accept that, you say, yo, I'm willing to get fanatical about this. I'm ready to do whatever it takes. I'm ready, willing, and able to do anything it takes to make this happen. To the degree that you do that, it's to the degree that you'll be successful. And again, guys, I know I'm talking kind of bigger, like picture stuff. We haven't like quite gotten down to, okay, specifics, leads and stuff like that, which I know a lot of people want to talk about. We'll get there. But if you have the best list, the best, specific prospecting method, without this mindset, it's going to be irrelevant. This is not going to work for you. And I promise you, I've been there. I've done it myself. And I've seen like so many students. I'm telling you, this is where it all starts. All right, next is going to be this. Next trait of a successful wholesaler is the willingness to fail forward and to fail faster. And when I say that, there's so many of you guys, I say, man, like I want to do this, but I'm nervous about what happens if, right? And I'm not sure about XYZ. And it causes you, whether consciously or subconsciously, to not take action, right? Or to hold yourself back, or to go not as fast. And the fact of the matter is, everyone's going to fail. They're going to fail regardless. It's just that the person who's really successful, they just failed more times and they failed faster than the average person has probably even tried. Right? And so, I'm doing some babysitting. My little nephew's here. Sorry, I got a little distracted here with Mr. Chase. But anyway, where are we at? Failing forward and failing a little bit faster. Okay, so that is something you have to be very much willing to do. Now, I have had students or people have come to me, people I've talked to, or prospects, some of my free calls. Guys, if I gave them a test on how to wholesale, some of these guys could pass this test 100%. They could just get it done, and they know the process, but they've never done a deal. And then I've had students who they don't completely know what they're doing. And yes, there are some nuances to this because there's legal stuff involved. There's certain things you kind of have to know how you're doing. Like you do need some base, like knowledge base, right? Some fundamentals that you have there. But you know, I have people who know maybe 70% of the process and they still do deals. They've done deals. When I did my very first deal, I was just telling this to someone I had a call with the other day. My very first deal that I did, I didn't know what a title company did. Like I kind of heard that they facilitate and make the deal go through, but I didn't know specifically what it was that they did. I just knew that like I had all this paperwork, I had these contracts signed, and I was like, send it in to these people. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna send you all the shit. Hopefully you know what you're doing, and I'll call and figure it out along the way. So there has to be that willingness, and like the faster you can fail, it's like the faster you can you'll make progress, right? What's up, little buddy? Come here. Say hello. This is my little nephew. We're doing some babysitting here. But hey man, I'm still working, all right? So go hang out with JD and I'll come see you guys in a little bit. All right? Next. Okay, so you also have to see, go hang out with JD. I'll come hang out with you in a little bit, all right? Be good. Go play, tell JD to help you out with that game.
A scary movie, I think.
Tell her to put on Spider-Man for you on PlayStation. Give me a couple minutes, all right? I'll be done in a bit. Family, man, that's what we do it for. But also, as distracting as that throws me off a little bit, but that's part of the reason why I do what I do. I can my sister's working and stuff like that. I get to hang out with my nephew, I get to hang out with my daughter, and we're very family oriented, and I have this business to be grateful for about that. So even when I get distracted, guys, there's the reason for these things. So moving right along, right? That willingness to just fail forward, man. The faster you can do it, like think about it this way, and everything in terms of analytics and math, it's like, dude, you have to go through a certain amount of no's to get to where you need to be. So just get through the no's faster, and you'll get your first deal faster, right? It kind of works like that. Next, I'm gonna speed up a little bit here because I know we're running out of time a little bit, but the ability to see prospecting and talking to people as a learnable skill. So a lot of times I get with people and they're like, man, Mike, I'm just not good at this. I'm just not good at talking to people or something like that. And they think it's kind of natural. And the thing you have to realize is that this is very much a learnable skill. It's something that you can get good at. And a lot of times you get better at it as you just do it. It just comes all through volume, and it comes through the reps, just putting in the repetition. You don't have to be an extrovert. You can be introverted. You can still get better at this. All right. All right. Next, sticking to a routine. Some people have this need for always finding something new, right? Oh, I get bored very easily, but you get better at doing things and forming these habits that we talked about when you make it a routine, right? So if you know every day between 12 and 4, I have this block, I'm going to make these cold calls every single day, and you can stick to a routine. It makes it a lot easier to implement and hit some of the metrics that we're going to talk about in just a second, all right? Next thing, moving right along, hopefully you guys are still taking your notes. Track everything, right? So you want to, people talk about KPIs. A lot of people don't know what that means. Those are your key performance indicators, but they're broken down a little bit more simple. Your KPIs are just basically how many calls you make, as an example, how many calls you make, how are those converting, all right? And so you want to track everything. Every call you make, every email you send, every text you send, stuff like that. All right. Now, my nephew's being a little bit crazy. Sorry about that, guys. Chase, please tell Jay to put you on the PlayStation. I'll come hang out with you guys in a bit.
She said she's busy.
Just tell her for me, okay? Put you on PlayStation.
She should.
Tell her Dad said, please. I'll be done in a little bit, okay? Close that door for me. Thank you. Welcome to the dad uncle life. All right. All right, buddy, I'm going to be there in a bit. I can't right now. Remember I told you, be good for me, be quiet for me. Hook me up. Help a brother out. All right, guys. These things happen. All right, so next. um, on the note of tracking everything is knowing your metrics, right? And so here's here's a way I like to put this, right? And this goes back to, tracking your activity. But when you know your metrics, it makes it a lot easier to hit them. So as an example, a lot of times when I get on one-on-one calls, be it with students or even with some of my audience, one of the questions I ask is I said, hey, let's fast forward where you are right now. 12 months from now, where do you want to be? We talk about your vision because I hope that helps you steer you in the right direction. But also I say, okay, income wise, give me a number. Tell me the goal, right? Now, if you're like, hey, I just want to make as much money as I can make, well, yeah, I can help you get there, but it's going to be a little bit harder. Now, let's say you say to me, Mike, I want to make $120,000 in the next 12 months. Well, what I can do then is I can say, okay, cool. So let's divide that by 12. That means if you want to make $120,000 in the next 12 months, you got to make $10,000 a month, right? Now, let's go ahead and say, okay, or $10,000 a month. If you want to make 10 grand a month, an average wholesale deal is worth about $10,000. You need to do one deal a month, right? So if you need to do one deal a month, now we need to look at what is your specific strategy? Are you doing direct mail? Okay, well, it takes, let's say, $2,000 to spend to do one deal. Or are you doing cold call? It takes X amount of calls, whatever it is. Now I can break up, okay, if you need to make this many offers or this many calls, we'll divide that by, let's say, 4 weeks, right? So if you have to make, let's say, 100 offers to get a deal, we'll divide that by 4. It's 25 offers a week. Now, I'm just making that number up. It's going to be a little bit higher in most cases. But you see, when we can quantify it, we know it's just a matter of doing the math, of the metrics, and then we will this guy, man, we will absolutely get there, right? Because once you know the math, you know how to get there. An analogy I like to make is this. If you were swimming in the ocean and you could not see land anywhere, you would be much more likely to give up as opposed to if you were swimming, no matter how tired you got, you were so exhausted. If you could see land, Jay, stop, please. If you could see land, 1 mile ahead, no matter how tired you were, you would be able to make it there. So my point is, if you know what the metrics are, if you know how many calls you have to make, if you know how many offers you have to make, it's much easier for you to get there. Okay, so that's kind of the next point. And next, you want to be systematic, systematize everything that you're doing. We're going to talk about that in future calls. Some other strategies are just always having that willingness to learn. Always trying to learn new strategies, learn new games, stuff like that. And then the last one I have for you before we get into some more details is just have fun with it, man. Some of you guys just I know it's your livelihood, so you want to take it seriously, but man, some of you guys just take this shit so serious, man. If somebody doesn't like me or they reject me or something like that, like it's a it's this, I don't know how to say, it's like this huge big thing. The way I look at it is like a game, man. I think of it like, I'm having fun with this stuff. Sometimes even if it's ego protection, like if I need to like laugh off a bad call, like it's cool. I look at it like like I'm playing Monopoly. It's in terms of thinking about money, like, oh, I gotta make X amount for bills. Like, yeah, you do. But if you look at it like a game, like, hey, many calls could I make, and how much money can I make, or stuff like that, that makes it a lot easier. And it takes a lot of the pressure off for you to really move forward with this. Okay, so hopefully that makes stuff. That's kind of the bigger picture of some of the traits that I see in very successful wholesalers, right? So the next thing I want to start getting into is a little bit more numbers and some of again, the thing that if you take nothing from this call is that the prospecting, it all starts with volume and just this persistence, and it's just going as hard as you can about this. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is kind of like a 30-day rule and the importance of the next 30 days. All right, so you have to look at in order to this guy, in order to stop the procrastination. Guys, give me 1 second. Jade, can you please come and get Chase? Yes. Sorry. Like I said, guys, I'm doing a little babysitting, and we live, so that's what it is. Chasey, come on, bro. Let me finish up, man. I'm gonna come play with you in a little bit, and your mom's gonna come pick you up soon. But let me finish up. All right. So the next thing you want to realize is, again, like everything. Okay, sorry, I'm getting questions here, but everything is how do I want to say this? Okay, the actions that you make today, you're not going to see the results today. I have had situations personally, and I've had situations for my students. Even some students who are like, man, Mike, this shit ain't working, man. I'm ready to like hang it up, kind of quit. And my thing is like, man, you already put in the work. You don't know, like, the actions that you took 4 weeks ago, you're going to bear those fruits. It might be a week, it might be 2 weeks, but keep going. I've closed deals a year from when I first reach out, and I've had students close deals again a year, sometimes 2 years, literally. Granted, your average deal is not going to take that long, but my point is, you on the day you close that deal, you're going to be so happy that you took the effort. Another analogy is like going back to the gym, right? You're not gonna. I don't care. You can go to the gym today. Don't matter how many sit-ups you do. If you don't have a six-pack, it ain't gonna pop today. But if you do it for an extended amount of time, you will see the results. The only difference is that, with wholesaling, it's not necessarily gradual in the sense that you could do actions today and think about it today and have that expectation. And then 6 months from now, you're going to forget sometimes that you even made an offer, that you called these people, or that you built some rapport. Maybe you called them 3-4 times. You get a call and you're like, oh, this person, Miss Johnson, Sarah, whoever it is, you won't even remember. Oh, I remember. And then you're gonna sell, and they're gonna be ready to work with you. But in terms of prospecting, you want to think about this in the now. And if you think about 30 days, the next 30 days of your life, let's say starting right now that you're watching this, will dictate how successful you are for the next 3 to 6 months. And every day that you miss this, you could be missing an opportunity, man. Like, if anyone follows Eric Thomas, the hip hop preacher, one thing I took from him years and years ago was like, dude, every day you push you don't take the action that you need to be taken, you could be pushing your dreams back another 6 months. And so you really got to start thinking in terms of the now. And again, if you're not prospecting and keeping your leads full and bringing in new leads, that means new phone calls. For a lot of my people out here, especially on limited budgets, obviously, there are other things, new campaigns, new direct mail campaigns, and new, text message campaigns, or whatever you're doing. Like, obviously that goes into it. It is good to have a kind of mixed strategy, but also you don't want to jump the gun, man. You don't want to try, if you're on like, especially like a shoestring budget, you don't want to try to be doing like 10 different strategies at once. And it's not because that diversification is bad. It's actually ideal to diversify a little bit because, people respond to different things. Some people like getting calls. Some people like getting texts. Some people respond to direct mail. So it's not that the diversification is bad, but it's like, if you're, again, going back to knowing your metrics, if you're not spending in high enough quantities and you're spreading yourself that thin, you're going to ultimately just be in a place where you're spreading yourself so thin that you're just wasting your money. So good examples, like why a lot of even brick and mortar businesses go out of business, is they just expand a little bit too fast, right? So let's say somebody opens up a pizza shop, Sal's Pizza, right? It's fantastic. It's got great reviews. They're making a bunch of money. He's like, man, well, this location is doing so well. If I open up 4 more, I'm gonna make 4 times as much money. And then they open up 4 locations, and then now, maybe the other location is a little bit slower, or what have you. They lose control over the quality of the food. They can't advertise as much. They got to pay rent on 4 different places. One place they can't afford to pay the rent, and they can't afford to pay the staff, and then it eats into the profits. Like, obviously it's a little bit different because we're talking about marketing budget, but you get my point here, right? Is that you don't want to spread out too fast. And later, I don't think we'll get to it today, but again, this is gonna be prospecting. Probably be like the next 2 or 3 calls, and then we're gonna get into some more stuff. But one thing I will talk to you guys about is I'm gonna encourage you to spend money. The more money you spend, like, the more deals you're gonna do, but you have to know the metrics to know that you don't want to start spending until you can hit certain prerequisites, right? Meaning, like, if you spend, let's say, I don't know, $1,000, right? It depends on your market a little bit, and it depends on your list. And I'll go into all of that. And my students, you guys have that in Wholesale and Mike University. But let's say if you spend $1,000, as just an example, you might do no deals, and then you are negative $1,000, right? But if you know your metrics, you know the size of your list, the approximate conversion rate, response rate, then you know that, okay, $1,000 I spend, I make zero money, I get negative 1,000. But if you spend 1,700, I know that I'm more than likely going to do a deal. I'm going to make a minimum of $10,000, and now I'm positive I have a net of $8,000, right? But there's certain prerequisites that you kind of have to know what those are. And, I have those in my program in Wholesale Mike University. And I also show you how to kind of figure that out based on your market, because, it fluctuates a little bit. And also based on your list. Some types of lists are more responsive, stuff like that. But ultimately, you want to hit those prerequisites. Yeah, I guess you call them prerequisites before you start pursuing a certain strategy. And when I say prerequisites, I mean you need to have enough money to go into certain things, unless you're comfortable with risk. And like one of my earliest deals, man, I spent I think it was like 200, maybe 500, but I think it was like $200 on a mailing campaign. And I was just I bought the envelopes at Walmart, I printed them at home, I was stuffing and stamping them, and I did a deal that way. I just got lucky. And so sometimes you could just play the gambling game and hopefully get lucky. But I'm talking if you want to make this replicatable and be able to do this every single month, right? But I got a little bit off track there. And yes, I will come back to this stuff. Maybe not today, because actually we're almost at our closing time. But if you guys want to join, like I said, today I did open it up to the public. And because I didn't kind of finish the whole thing, I'll be happy to open up our next group coaching call. Because again, this is just more like a informal talk that I'm giving. I'd be happy to open up the next one. So I think, yeah, when we pick up again, we'll start off with the importance of the next 30 days. And then I'm going to go from, again, broader to a little bit more specific. Some of the things I'll be talking to you guys about next time. Sorry, I just noticed the time here. Is what you want to be doing in your next 30 days, the importance of prospecting. I want to talk about certain laws of sales, how to always keep your pipeline, filling up and refilling it, and some of the repercussions, or how to more or less predict what's coming in. Let's see some other notes I got here. The roller coaster effect. We got talking to people. Cold calling is not dead. That's a huge topic that I really want to talk about. I'll probably spend the bulk of next time talking about cold calling, because even if you're not doing it, you should have staff or virtual assistants who are doing it. It is highly effective and it's very cost efficient. So that's what I'm going to spend a lot of the majority of my time talking about. But on that note, thanks guys for joining me here. What I want to do now is, even though I'm a little bit over, I'm going to start looking at some of the questions. Sorry, so I'm trying to read and talk at the same time. All right. So let's see. Thank you. Commitment to the family. I appreciate that, man. That's just, so I do this stuff for. You're focused on one niche in a probate in your target market. That could result in unlimited profits. So again, I agree with being very niche focused, right? So what you want to do, if you're doing probates, I think that's actually a fantastic list. Again, it will, but probates in particular tend to be some of the most profitable deals, but in general, they can take a little bit more time to get done. Now, in your market, again, this is market specific, and there's two solutions to this. You can either branch out your market a little bit. I don't know what your market is if you're looking at it by zip code, county, state, whatever. But what I'm saying to you is this, have your bread and butter, your go-to, but let's say you are doing probates and you hit a ceiling on it. And let's say, if you're just doing this part-time, you're just hey, man, I want to go on an extra vacation. I don't mind doing a deal every 3 months. For some people that works. That's kind of not the target market or target people I'm talking to. But let's say you exhaust that list of probates. Well, yeah. Well, first, you're probably going to want to run back through it, because some of those people just, either not responsive, or they missed the call, or they missed the first postcard you sent or something like that. So you're going to obviously want to follow up, right? But let's say you're at a point where you've exhausted that list, and maybe you've mailed to them a couple times, and maybe you just did your last mailer yesterday, and you're like, okay, well, what am I going to do? Sit back and wait? Well, no, if you have extra time, well, then fill it with another list. So probate could still be your specific niche and your bread and butter. But if you got extra time, man, then like that's when you need to target and incorporate some other different types of leads. And again, that should be specific to your situation. Some people that I talk to, they have 1 extra hour a day that they could dedicate to this. Some people have, 5 hours a day. They might be unemployed. You don't want to just sit around for 5 hours a day and say, hey, man, I'm waiting for my probates to get back to me. So during that time, based on your market and based on what lists you can target and based on, again, things like your budget and your amount of time, you want to fill that up with like your next best thing. And typically I recommend like stackable lists that have multiple different levels of criteria. You want to start off making it as niche as possible, and then every time you exhaust that list and you've called through it either a few times, or you've done the mail campaigns, or SMS or whatever it is that you're doing, then once you've exhausted that, maybe like pull off one criteria. So if you were targeting free and clear properties only, then the next time you go through it, you ran through it, you followed up. The next time you go through that list, well, instead of doing free and clear, change the criteria and make it, 70% equity. That's going to add some properties to there. Then go through it, run through that thing. When you exhaust that, then, do 50% equity. Then when you run through that, okay, well, then try those next things. But instead of doing it in, this zip code 33301, do it in the next zip code 33302. And that's how you're going to always, kind of keep it fresh, right? Yeah, so focusing on one niche and one target market is the most efficient way. I agree with that completely. I always tell my students the same way I was saying, don't spread yourself too thin in terms of how you prospect. I agree with that in terms of like getting it into your target market and getting it in one specific niche. What I'm saying is, once you do that and you've exhausted that, well, you don't want to sit around and be like, well, all right, I'm just going to wait for this. Like, definitely exhaust it first. But once you've done that, then you want to incorporate the next one. Now, that doesn't mean like pull 20 lists and then just go crazy, because especially as a beginner, then the follow-up gets a little bit harder, and you want to make sure that you're organized and that you have kind of that system flowing, which is what I'm going to be getting into and talking about in the next couple of weeks. But so yes, I agree with that. But again, you don't want to be stagnant and waiting, because that's just being passive. Whereas if you're taking an active role and being obsessive and being aggressive the way I talk about it, you're not just waiting for the deals to come to you. But even while you're waiting for some people to respond, you're still being active and going out there. Just don't, again, spread yourself like too thin, or to the point where you're so overwhelmed that you can't keep track of like your campaigns. And that's one reason why I do recommend that you move forward with having a CRM, a good one that can kind of help you. All right. I like that you started with mindset. Thank you. That's where it starts. Like I said, we'll get detailed. Like I said, my program has details. My one-on-one students, we get very, very detailed. We get down to that niche. We find your best list for you personally, and best strategies and stuff like that. But again, you could have the list and have the strategy and have the budget, but if you don't have this mindset, man, it's just not gonna work. And again, stuff like follow up, like again, statistically, most of your deal is gonna come between the 5th and 12th point of contact. 50% of wholesalers never make a second point of contact. So again, that's where you have like your competitive advantage. And I have some notes on that too that we'll kind of run through and discuss next time. All right. All right, cool, man. Yeah, I appreciate you guys being here too. Let me go and check in on some of the other groups. We'll check on our Facebook group, see if we got any other questions going on here. Let's see. Or that's kind of the main stuff. That's this group here. All right, guys, listen, if you have any questions, please do add them, right? If you are watching this on a replay and you have questions, I have my notifications on. I'm going to be checking these groups out. So, man, I got these people on the call. Leave them there. All right, leave me your questions. I'll be going back through, and like I said, I will answer them, either type back, or if there's something that it requires a little bit more explanation, I'll jump on and I'll do another live during the week, or I will make a whole video for you, like I did for someone who would just, I don't know this person, she was just commenting on a lot of my videos, and so I'm happy to do that stuff for you guys. I want to thank you for joining me. If you guys have more questions, or you want to know more about the business or how I could help you, or if you're interested in mentorship, or if you want to do a free one-on-one call, go to wholesalingwithmike.info. There I have a presentation that talks about not only the overview of the wholesaling process, but 4 main keys that will make you successful in this business, how to get deals every single month. Like I said, today is kind of like tip of the iceberg stuff, but I want to dive deeper into this stuff. That'll give you an overview of and some real things to focus on. At the end of that video, it's short, it's only about 20 minutes. Like I said, it's a overview, but it's showing you some of the main keys that you need to focus on. And so with that, at the end of that, there's also an opportunity to get on my calendar to schedule a one-on-one call. These calls are free. The only catch is there are limited spots, man, because I can't, I get hundreds of responses. I can't do those calls all week, so I typically have a couple spots every week. And I take your calls, help you out with your business. It gives me great ideas for like my YouTube channel. Some of you guys will join my one-on-one mentoring program. Some of you guys I'll end up doing joint venture business with. So either way, man, it's always gonna be all good. I just love that the community. I love you guys rocking with me, and I want to thank you so much for being here tonight. So again, our next call, I'm gonna finish up this stuff on prospecting. I actually have a lot more stuff to go through, but didn't quite get to all of it tonight. But hopefully, you guys digest that and let me know if you have questions. But again, if there's anything you take from this, sometimes the simplest strategies are some of the best, and you really gotta work on hitting that volume. Prospecting needs to be your senior activity every single day. Now, obviously, you need to follow those things up. You have to have a system in place to follow up. Otherwise, no matter how many good leads you have, they'll all go to shit. But you can't follow up if you don't have the leads to begin with, right? So we're putting all these things together in order, systematically. And again, when you hear about systems, yes, that is important. Yes, you do need that. But we got to start with some of these fundamentals. Otherwise, your systems kind of become irrelevant. All right. So thank you guys again for joining me, particularly on a Friday night. If you guys have questions, leave them in the comments. Also, you can always email me, mike@wholesalingmike.com. And go watch my presentation at wholesalingwithmike.info. 4 keys to become a successful wholesaler. Do wholesale deals every single month. Man, it's a beautiful life. Quit your 9-to-5 job. Be your own boss. Control your own time. Work from wherever you want, whenever you want. It's pretty dope. It takes a lot of work in the beginning, but it more than pays off. And I would love to bring some of you guys on this journey with me. Also, at the end of that presentation, you'll have an opportunity to get on my calendar, have a one-on-one call with me. I promise you, I will show you some really good stuff. We'll make it dope. All right. So on that note, everybody have a fun, safe weekend, safe, enjoyable Labor Day weekend. And I will see you guys next week on the next call. And I look forward to hearing from you. All right. Thanks so much. Everybody stay safe. And I'm going to head out. All right. Take care, guys. Peace.